Hari Om. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste friends. Team Param Vedanta welcomes you all to DISHA 45, a new series of an inward journey to discover our inner strength and happiness through Bhagavad Gita. Let us continue with the study of chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. Dr. Netravati is going to help us understand the verses from 4 to 7 of this chapter. She will also touch upon the topic of bhakti as explained in Tattva Bodha. After the talk, we will have a teaching quiz session by Dr. Sachin. Now, before Dr. Hegdesar gives us introduction to the day's topic, Srimati Meenakshi will explain the shloka of the day. The shloka she has chosen is Deepa Jyoti mantra. Normally, we chant this while lighting the lamp in the evening and by inauguration of programs. Let's listen to Shubham Karoti Kalyanam. Meenakshi, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. A short prayer to the lamp, which is popularly known as Deepa Jyoti mantra. Shubham Karoti Kalyanam Arogyam Dhana Sampada Shatru Buddhi Vinashaya Deepa Jyotir Namostute. Deepa Jyoti Parabrahma Deepa Jyoti Janardana Deepo Me Haratu Papam Deepa Jyotir Namostute. Meaning, I salute the Supreme, who is the light in the lamp that brings auspiciousness, prosperity, good health, abundance of wealth, and the destruction of enemy of the intellect. I fold my hands before Parabrahma, sustainer of the creation, who is in the form of light. I worship this light, which destroys all the pains resulting from things I might have done and also the things which I have failed to do. In most of the Hindu homes, a lamp is lit every day before puja. All auspicious occasions commence with lighting a lamp. Traditional oil lamp has spiritual significance. It stands for auspiciousness, prosperity, and abundance. We all know light brings in brightness, dispelling darkness, after which things become very clear. Hindu Sanatana Dharma gives a lot of importance to lighting a lamp, which is followed in every home. It is an offering to the Lord, who dispels the darkness in the heart of the devotee. The devotee feels the Lord's divine presence after lighting the lamp. The lamp is a form and a symbol of Tejas, that is absolute principle. It also amounts to awakening of Atma Jyoti within oneself. The serene aura around the lamp represents the Atma Prakasha. Hence, we worship the lamp as the Parabrahma himself, who is the Chaitanya Swarupa, the enlivener and illuminator of all living entities. The oil or ghee in a lamp symbolizes our vasanas or negative tendencies, and the wick symbolizes ego. When it is lit by spiritual knowledge, the vasanas get exhausted and the ego too perishes into nothing. Like the flame burning upwards, our spiritual knowledge must take us towards higher goals. When we do arati with lamps, it has special significance. Negative energies are driven away. Lighting a lamp helps a meditator to have concentration and helps him to reflect upon his inner radiance. In Kalika Purana, as we see in the next slide, the importance of lamp is narrated by Shiva to Parvati. The shloka goes this way: Deepena lokan jayati deepas tejomaya smritaha chaturvarga prado deepas tasmad deepam yajet priye. Meaning, by lighting a lamp, we can obtain victory over people. A lamp is lustrous, that is tejomaya. It is the bestower of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Hence, dear Parvati, a lamp needs to be lit. It is a way to invoke our own inner nature. Thus, lighting a lamp and praying has immense benefits, and let us all do it with devotion. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Meenakshi, for giving us another new mantra about the importance of lighting a lamp, about bringing in Agni, who is a pratyakṣa devata in all our prayers and sadhanas. Sadashiva samarambam Shankaracharya madhyamam Asmadacharya paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We are all very familiar with this famous mantra from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We will see how this mantra, which we chant so often, can be chanted more meaningfully from the context of our own spiritual quest. Every human being will have to become a spiritual seeker. Once we become a spiritual seeker, life becomes a spiritual journey. This spiritual journey can become meaningful, purposeful, and successful only when it is conducted with the help of a guide or a guru who has the Shastra as guidance. We know this beautiful verse from the Bhaja Govindam. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam, iha samsare bahudustare, kripaya pare pahi murare. O Shri Krishna, a keen observer of life sees that life is so repetitious, so cyclical, so boring. Every day we seem to be doing the same thing. And if you look at life in perspective, every time we are born, we die, we are born, we die. And this cycle seems to be going on and on. One way of looking at life, Swamiji calls it, the routine life can be called as MBBS. Meaningless, burdensome, boring struggle. Is there a way to get out? And the only way to get out is to discover how I can move from samsara to moksha. Normally, what do we understand as samsara? Samsara is taken as bondage. Bondage from what? From the repetitive cycle of birth, death, birth, death. And if this cycle, if I can get out of this cycle, then I have freedom. And in this birth-death cycle, what is the real problem? The real problem is death. So in this prayer, Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotir gamaya, the concluding prayer is Mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Can I move from death to immortality? So this is an Upanishadic prayer which we normally chant, that I don't want to die. Can I attain to immortality? So the spiritual quest now comes from, can I move from mortality to immortality, from mrityu to amritam? So if you have to redefine our spiritual journey, I want to move from mortality to immortality. Now let us look again. Is this ever possible? Is it ever possible for a mortal to become immortal? As we have studied in our previous classes, one thing is very certain. There is no corridor that connects mortality to immortality, because whenever you say something is mortal, something is finite with respect to time, something that is immortal is infinite. So there is no connection between the finite and the infinite. But if this prayer has to get me to immortality, that means there must be some wrong notion. The wrong notion is a wrong belief. And the wrong belief is, I have logged on to what appears to be real. My body-mind appears to be real. And from the body-mind, which appears to be real, through a spiritual journey, let me discover what is real. What is that which gives me immortality? And when we go into a spiritual studies, we discover that there is something in me that never changes. My body gets older, my body falls sick, my body dies, but there is something that is always there, which never undergoes any change. And that is my swarupam, or that is my true nature. And therefore, this knowledge that my true nature is immortal, is spiritual wisdom, and that is when I move from darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge. So my real journey now comes from ignorance to knowledge. Ignorance means I have identified with that which is unreal, and through the light of knowledge, I need to identify to what is real. So all my effort now is to get the knowledge of my true self, because as we hear in the Bhagavad Gita, Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. In the 5th chapter, Sri Krishna reiterates very clearly the cause of all our suffering is ajnanam, or ignorance, the apasmara, the forgetfulness of my true nature. And because I have forgotten my true nature, although I am already that, I'm not able to experience my true nature of limitlessness of my immortality. That is why Sri Dakshinamurti has to remind us, there is something in me, my true nature, which is real, but because of the cloud of ignorance, and the cloud of ignorance or apasmara has to be kept under check. Now that I know that I'm a combination of mortal body, mind, and immortal Atma, this jnanam is possible through jnana yogyata, followed by jnana prapti, and finally to make this knowledge very firm called jnana nishta. There are sadhanas that we work on through karma yoga and upasana yoga. I get jnana yogyata. Through shravanam and mananam, I get jnanam. Through nidityasanam, this knowledge that I am already that. What is this I am already that? I have now moved from my false identification, from the unreal identification of body-mind to Atma, which is permanent. The ignorance, which was tamas, to Jyotir, which is the spiritual enlightenment. And then I discover, and this is the discovery through a spiritual journey, that moksha is not a sadhyam, it is a siddhavastu. It is not something that I need to work for. I am already that. Now, as we look into the verses of the Bhagavad Gita and through bhakti, that is why in each of our classes you see bhakti coming in again and again. It is when bhakti is there in our hearts, the spiritual wisdom will be awakened. Dr. Netra will explain these key verses of the Gita starting from verse 4 of the 10th chapter. Dr. Netra, please.
Namaste, Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. This Madhyama Shatakam begins with the 7th chapter. The initial 6 chapters dealt with Jiva Swarupam, our self-effort, free will. Now there is a shift towards Īśvara Swarupam in the Madhyama Shatakam that focuses on the nature of God, grace of God. In the 7th to the 9th chapters, Lord Krishna defined God as Jagat Karanam, means the cause of this universe. And Krishna also talked about the nature of God, pointing out that God consists of 2 aspects, Para Prakriti, higher nature, and Apara Prakriti, lower nature. And we also saw Para Prakriti is of the nature of consciousness and Apara Prakriti is of the nature of matter. Thus, basic matter principle plus conscious principle put together is God. In the next slide, we see the common features of consciousness and matter. So both are actually beginningless, therefore they cannot be created. But there are a few differences between both of them. Consciousness is changeless principle, whereas matter is subject to change or evolution or involution. Consciousness is nirvikaram, nirgunam, satyam, chetana, whereas matter is savikaram, sagunam, mithya, and achetana. So in the next slide, let us understand the Karanam status is generally done in 3 stages depending on maturity of the student. For the first level of student, we say God creates this world. God is the creator of the world and comparison is given. Like a carpenter who creates a furniture, or a goldsmith who produces ornaments. Similarly, God is the creator of the world. In Sanskrit, we use the word nimitta karanam because when you imagine a creator, the creator has to be intelligent principle, skilled person, and therefore God also is like a human being. So naturally you will think, where is he? What is this address of this creator God? So in the beginning stage, we have to give an appropriate answer, and therefore I give the address care of Vaikunta. This is the creator Vishnu. How he creates? Out of Vishnu's navel comes Brahma. Vishnu does not do the creation directly. He creates Brahmaji and thereafter hands over the creation job, employs Brahmaji. And once a person has remained in this state for some time, that is, when the mind becomes mature, when the mind begins to ask further questions, how can infinite God be located? Questions will come. How can infinite God be situated somewhere? Where did the God find the materials for creating this world? Such time is a time when we go to the next stage of teaching. What is that? God creates the universe is equal to God himself manifests as the universe. Because for God to create, there is no outside material. A carpenter has a piece of wood, a goldsmith has a piece of gold outside. But when God has to create, where will he find the raw material? Lord finds the material also in himself. And this is very well given in the Mundaka Upanishad 1.7. Just as a spider finds the material in itself for creating the web, Lord also finds the material in his own body. Because he consists of not only the consciousness principle, he consists of matter principle also. Therefore, Lord does not create the world. Lord himself manifests as the world. And this stage in Sanskrit, we call it as Īśvara Jagat Parinami Upadana Karanam. Therefore, sunlight is not created by God. Sunlight itself is manifestation of God. Therefore, I worship the rising sun. Then once you come to this second level, God Darshanam is always available. So what is the body of the Lord? The whole cosmos is the avatara of the Lord. It's a manifestation of the Lord. I need not stand in a big queue. I can just open the eyes. Lord is there. This is called Vishwarupa Īśvara for more mature people. This is the second stage. That is the appreciation of Lord for sufficiently long time. Then we go to the final stage. And what is that? God does not create the universe. God does not become the universe, because becoming means undergoing change. So what is that? God apparently appears as the universe. Therefore, universe is a false manifestation of the Lord. In which stage alone we say the universe is unreal. Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. But to appreciate that the universe is unreal, it requires tremendous intellectual, emotional maturity. And therefore, that is the final stage we'll see from the 13th chapter onwards. And once I'm able to appreciate this, Vishwarupa Darshanam, that is divinization of the Lord. In the first stage, God is elsewhere. He's sitting there. World is elsewhere. Both are in different places. God is sacred. World is secular. So we have a sacred, secular dichotomy in the beginning stage. But once you come to the middle stage, I do not separate God and world, because God alone is in the form of world. So Surya is a glorious thing. And then you can take so many things in this creation. The glory of the earth, glory of water. Therefore, Krishna wants to say that since God is everything, any glory found anywhere in the creation, that belongs to God alone. Now you may think, what about my glory? A doubt will arise. First question is, do you really have a glory? That itself is doubtful. Let us assume that I have some glory. Krishna wants to say that also belongs to God alone, because you are a mixture of apara prakriti, the matter aspect, and para prakriti, consciousness aspect. So I give all the glories to the Lord. And this seeing of all the vibhutis as God's Vibhuti is Vibhuti Darshanam. And the greatest advantage is that I remain humble. I will not claim any credit. We have seen in Kenopanishad, even Devas who became proud of their capacity, God had to teach them a lesson. Similarly, here also, off and on, pride rises its hood. So if we remember Vibhuti Yoga, I become humble. And not only that, when I see any glory in any other person, I'll see that also as a glory of the God. And therefore, there is no comparison between two people. Suppose I have some glory and somebody else has some glory, then we may fight who is more glorious. I now know I have no glory. Means what my glory belongs to the Lord. I also know that that person's glory also belongs to the Lord. So there is only one source for all the glories. So where is the question of jealousy? So for a real bhakta, Vishwarupa bhakta, arrogance will never come. Jealousy will never come because he sees Īśvara Vibhuti everywhere. And it is this transformation that Lord Krishna wants to bring in our minds. What transformation? Seeing the glory of the Lord everywhere. And since this is the topic, Sarvatra Īśvara Vibhuti Darshanam, this chapter is called Vibhuti Yoga. So the three stages are: level number 1, God creates the world. In level 2, God becomes the world. Whereas in level 3, God appears as the world. In the next slide, so in this chapter, we see that there is no any question from Arjuna when the chapter starts. Therefore, we come to know that Krishna himself is volunteering to talk more about Īśvara Svirupam. Krishna gives the answer, hey Arjuna, you're a very dear student to me, and it is very rare to get nice students. And now that you are in front of me, I want to make use of this opportunity. And we saw this even in Kathopanishad. Yamadharmaraja himself congratulates to get a student like Nachiketa. And he says, let us get more students or disciples like Nachiketa. Like that, Krishna has got a wonderful Shishya in Arjuna. And therefore, Krishna says, Arjuna, I'm inspired. Therefore, I am going to continue. Hey Mahabaho Arjuna, may you once again listen to my supreme words. What do you mean supreme words? Words are always the same. How can you say words are supreme or not? So here, supreme word means which are dealing with the supreme law. Therefore, the words are called supreme words. So this is of the nature of God, and I want to tell you more. In the next slide, these first 3 verses, 1st to 3rd, are introductory verses wherein the subject matter is introduced, that is Īśvara Swarupa Jnanam. Now Krishna says, Arjuna, do not tell me that you will learn this topic from other guru or some other Rishi or somebody else. You cannot tell me this because nobody else knows my glory in its entirety. I alone can know the glory in its full measure. Nobody else can know because all others are born later. All others are finite in nature. And therefore, how can a finite mind ever know the glory of the infinite Lord? Therefore, Arjuna, you have to learn from only one source. Only I know. And therefore, you have to learn from me. Even gods do not know my full glory, nor rishis. Because he himself gives the reason. Aham eva adihi. I am their cause. I am their creator. They have come much later. And not only they have come later, a mature intellect, a discriminate intellect is one which wants to know God, the cause of the universe, and therefore yaha mam vetti. That is, intelligent person knows me as Jagat Karanam. And what type of God this is? Ajam Anadimcha, who is birthless, because he is the cause of the universe, birthless. Why Ajam? Because if God also has birth, then God will not be the ultimate cause of the universe. God will have his own cause then. So again, the next question will come. God is creator. Who is he? What about that? It has a cause or not. Therefore, ultimate cause should be a causeless cause. And such a great person, what benefit he gets? Sarva papai pramuchyate. He becomes free from all the papas of the samsara. He gets liberated. In the next slide, with the third verse, introductory part is over. Now Krishna presents the subject matter briefly from verse number 4 up to 11. For the sake of convenience, the world is divided into two. External world of objects, bhaya prapancha, and the internal world of thoughts, antara prapancha. And Krishna says, internal world is also born out of me. External world is also born out of me alone. Antara. So in the next slide, now we see the antara prapancha being enumerated. So Krishna gives a list of all this. Buddhihi, intelligence. Buddhi is the capacity of the anthakarana to reveal subtle things, that is, which is not available for perception at all, sukshma. Though not available for perception, still you're able to appreciate the existence, like the beautifulness of something or the gloriousness of something. So the capacity to reveal such thing belongs to Buddhi, and that person is called Buddhiman. He may be a scientist or a musician, but he has a capacity to see things that are subtle in nature, Buddhi. Second is Jnanam, knowledge. Those who have Buddhi gain the knowledge of meaning of the words like Atma. This is called Jnanam. Bhagavan says, the very faculty of knowing is from me, and the knowledge itself is born of me. If you see this, your ahankara gets diminished. Third is asammoha, freedom from delusion. So whenever an object appears in front of you, if it is known as it is without any distortion, it means that you pursue the knowledge with discrimination, called asammoha. But if you come to a hurried conclusion without discrimination, it is called sammoha. Like, for example, you see a rope and you jump thinking that it is a snake. That is sammoha. Asammoha is deliberately, without hurrying, looking into things and understanding them as they should be understood. You keep an open mind, explore and understand. Then it is asammoha. We should know that our senses, our mind, deceive us a lot. They are capable of distorting things and do not really present objects as they are. Our perception can be born of our own fear and anxiety. We can even project things that are not there at all. Therefore, proper understanding is very important, which makes us alert. And this asammoha is also from me, Bhagavan says. Next is kshama, means patience, satyam, truthfulness. Suppose you're scolded by somebody or you're subjected to some abuse. You will not be affected by that if you have kshama. It's a state of mind in which you do not internalize those things. So if someone is angry, you have to deal with his anger. But if in the process you become angry, you're not internalizing the problem. You're internalizing the problem. Not internalizing is called as kshama. So if somebody is angry, you confine his anger to him. Do not let it affect you. Try to understand why this person is angry and do what has to be done. That is called dealing with anger. The mind that does not undergo any internalization in situations and which is very pleasant is called as kshama. Finally, then the other are dhammaha, that is sense control. This we saw in the Kathopanishad. Sense organs are like the horses, mind is like the reins. And therefore, if the sense organs are under control, it is because of mind's controlling power, dhammaha. Next is sama, mind control. Sukham, happiness. Dukham, unhappiness. Bhavaha, birth. Origin of all the thoughts or emotions. If anybody thinks that I am the doer, it is meaningless. The hen can think that she created the chick. The rooster can say he is the author, but Bhagavan says, I am the author. Even a creation within the creation is from Bhagavan. That is the idea. Abhavaha, that is dissolution or resolution of the thoughts, arrival and departure. Bhayam, fear, that is also from me, Bhagavan says. So certain things, namely death, time, are something which can never be reversed. And that inevitability causes fear. Death and time are also Bhagavan. So Bhaya is caused by Bhagavan. So the Taittiriya Upanishad says, Air, Vayu moves because of fear of Īśvara. Sun rises because of fear alone, because of Īśvara's mandate. Agni, Indra, both do their jobs. Agni keeps burning, Indra rules the heaven, all because of Īśvara's mandate. Even Lord of Death is on the move because of Īśvara. Next is Abhayam, fearlessness. Ahimsa, non-violence. Samata, equanimity, poise. Tushtihi, contentment. Tapaha, austerity. Shankara says that disciplining the body backed by control of the sense organs is called tapas. Dhanam, generosity. Yashaha, fame. Ayashaha, ill fame. So all these conditions, whatever I enumerated till now, originated from where? Bhagavan. Matta heva bhavanti. They're all born out of me alone in their own distinct nature. That law which connects the means to the result is from me. So when you strike a matchstick, there's a flame. Īśvara says that is from me. Striking the matchstick is sadhana, and the flame that results is sadhya. This law is also from me. Tapas is sadhana, result is sadhya. So there is invariability in the result. If you do this tapas, you get this result. There is a sadhana, sadhya connection. So these are all the internal thoughts. In the next slide, so Īśvara says, I am the cause of the inner world of thoughts. And later Bhagavan will point out that he is the cause of the outer world also. Combining together, Bhagavan is the cause of everything. How is it that they are from Bhagavan? Does he arbitrarily distribute them? Does he do any bias? No. All these take place according to our own karma, our efforts. Swakarma anurupena, says Shankara. And that law of karma is from me. So in that form, everything is from me alone. Shankara introduces this one word to explain that in spite of the disparity we see in karma, there is no partiality on the part of Bhagavan. It is all swakarma anurupena, according to our own karma, which includes both the present effort and the past karma. Together, they are the basis for all these various things. They do not come from us, but from Īśvara. So basically what we need to know is whenever we are trying to analyze things in life, we become proofreaders. We try to see only the negative. Instead of that, we need to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. To see positive, what is right, see God's glory. Develop a new samskara to see God in and through everything in the universe. In the next slide, now the creation of the external world is talked about, and before all the regular human being, animal, etc. came, first the Lord created the Sapta Rishis, Sanakadi Rishis, and thereafter the human being came. Sapta Rishis represent Grihastha Parampara, Sanakadi Rishis represent Sannyasi Parampara, and out of these 11, all the other came. First Brahmaji came out of the navel of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu transferred the job to Brahma, and Brahmaji created the initial one through mere sankalpa. That is why they are called Manasa Putra. Sapta Rishis represent Grihastha Parampara, Pravritti Marga. So even though they were Rishis, they were not sannyasis, they were Vanaprasthas. And before that, there were 4 Rishis earlier. Purve Chatvaraha. Purve means even before the Sapta Rishis. There were 4 earlier Rishis who are called as Sanakadi Muni. Sanaka, Sanantaha, Sanat Kumaraha, and Sanat Sujataha. In the next slide, we see why Brahmaji created the 7 Rishis. 4 Rishis could have been sufficient. The reason is, Brahmaji created 4 Rishis hoping that these will get married and get children and Parampara will be protected. That was the intention of Brahmaji. But they straight away took up to Brahmacharya. And Brahmaji was very angry with his children. And from his eyebrows, Ekadasa Rudras came. That is why they are called Rudras. And following that, Brahmaji had to create another 7 for Pravritti Marga and 14 Manu, from whom all the whole beings came. So, Mat Bhavaha, each one of them has got the same nature of mine. Mat Swarupaha, so everyone The internal and the external is Satchidananda Swarupa. In the next slide, in the previous verse, it was pointed out that the Lord being the cause of the universe, the Lord has a potentiality to manifest at spots, trees, etc. Just as a seed has a potentiality to manifest as tree, similarly, Lord has a potential which is called Shakti to evolve as a universe. This power of manifestation, this Shakti is called Yoga, Yoga Shakti or Maya Shakti. Thus, Lord has got Maya. So what is the definition of Maya? The potential power which is there is Maya. And any potential is always in dormant form. It is invisible, just as the butter, which is potentially there in the milk. But you cannot see the butter in the milk. You'll have to extract and bring it out. Therefore, any Shakti which is invisible, it is inferable, anumeyam. And that is called Īśvara Yoga. And later, when the potential comes to manifestation, the manifested form is pratyakṣa, visible. So when the seed has a potential you do not see, when it has become a tree, the yoga has become what? Visible. And this visible version is called Vibhuti. The unmanifest power is called yoga. Suppose a bhakta, a scriptural student, recognizes this glory. For him, what will be the advantage? Bhagavan is no more sitting in Vaikuntha. He need not travel to have Īśvara darshanam. For him, where is God? If you ask, he will ask a counter question. Tell me where God is not there. In the next slide, if you see an atheist, he wrote a statement, God is nowhere. A bhakta came and put a comma after now. So instead of nowhere, if you add W along with no, what will happen? Now here. And this darshanam is Virata Īśvara darshanam, Vishwarupa Īśvara darshanam, Aneka Rupa Īśvara darshanam. So once you recognize this, you'll go to the next level of Īśvara darshanam, because this is only the middle level. And what is the next level? God does not transfer himself to become the universe. God appears to have all these forms, but the original God does not have any of these forms. From Aneka Rupa Īśvara, he'll go to Arupa Īśvara. So Yogaha means Arupa Īśvara Jnanam. He'll go to Nirguna Īśvara Jnanam. And not only he will get Arupa Īśvara Jnanam, it is Avikampena. It's a strong conviction for him being formless. God is the real God, and that real formless God assumes either any of these forms depending upon the devotee's prayer. Yo yam yam tanu bhakta. In whichever form our bhakta wants to have darshanam, Bhagavan assumes that form. So though Arupa Īśvara is the real Rupa, it does not mean he will reject Eka Rupa Īśvara or Aneka Rupa Īśvara. He has got all the three versions. I can talk to Bhagavan as a person, I can admire Bhagavan as the nature of the creation, or I can close my eyes and enjoy Bhagavan as Aham Brahmasmi. All the three, he will come to know. And suppose you have a doubt, what is the guarantee? We want always a guarantee card, warranty. Whatever you say, Krishna says, I am giving you guarantee. Na atra samshaya. So start with Ekarupa Īśvara, you will come to me ultimately. So in the next slide, in conclusions, the person who has reached the highest level knows that he is Satchit Ananda. He is an embodiment of permanent peace, security, happiness. The Atma Tattva enlivens the body and experiences the world, and hence no adversities can affect him. So to reach the highest level from Eka Rupa, the intermediate level is Aneka Rupa or Vishwarupa, which is a stepping stone to Arupa. So let us experience the godliness in all the five elements. Bhumi, on which I am standing, water, which I drink, air, which I breathe, warmth of the fire, the vast space around me. Let us develop reverence to all these. Then one day, I will move to level 3 and appreciate the Arupa Īśvara. So now in the next slide, I'll be talking about bhakti or devotion. This bhakti or devotion, next slide, sir, is nothing but a love directed towards a higher principle. Whenever love is directed towards some principle which we revere, which is sacred. That love is called devotion. So there are 9 forms of bhakti. The first 3 are Mandha Bhakti, Madhyama Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti, where bhakti is based on the love of God. Bhavana Drushtya Bhakti Trayam, which I'll be discussing today. First meaning of bhakti is devotion to God. Second meaning of bhakti is based on the course of discipline. So in the next slide, the love towards God. If we have bhakti, so next slide, sir. If we have bhakti, or if a person loves God, what will be the intensity of that love? The scriptures point out the intensity of the love depends on how you look upon God. So Manda Bhakti, this is also called as dull or selfish bhakti. Majority of people look upon God as only a means to get some worldly ends. So as long as you look upon God to attain means, the love is called Manda Bhakti. That is why people get angry with God. This is a very conditional love. Only if the condition is fulfilled, I will be the person who I love God. And if the condition is not there, I reject God. So this is Manda Bhakti. Next is Madhyama Bhakti, where they look upon God not as means to various ends. They are mature enough. Their understanding of God is clearer enough that they are able to choose God as a goal of life. Because they know God represents security, peace, happiness. I know that God is the end of my life, and naturally my love of God is as the end, and therefore it is more intense than the previous one. And this bhakti is called Madhyama Bhakti. Uttama Bhakti is the best bhakti. It is even rarer form of love, the most intense form in which I look upon God not as a means nor as the end, but God is non-different from myself. Soham asmi means that the Lord is essentially not different from me, and therefore the Lord and the self being identical, God love will become equal to self-love. And since self-love is the most intense love, that form of love is called Manda Bhakti. So for Manda Bhakta, God is dear. Madhyama Bhakta, God is dearer. And Uttama Bhakta, God is dearest. Thus, love of God in the form of Manda, Madhyama, Uttama Rupa is called Bhakti. And this is the first meaning of the word Bhakti. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Netra, for a very exhaustive and a very clear presentation of the initial parts of Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti Yoga is that chapter of the Bhagavad Gita which sensitizes us to be able to see God in the world. And in these verses, Sri Krishna is introducing himself into 2 kinds of the universe. A universe that we can see outside, and Dr. Netra gave a lot of importance to the world of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, that is the world inside. Let us be aware of 2 things. Now, this is very clearly brought out in the Mandukya Upanishad, that everything can be split into 2, like Vishwa Virat Taijasa Hiranyagarbha. That means there is a whole world, a whole universe outside me, which I can experience. And there is another universe within me, the world of thoughts. And from the Vedantic angle, that one Parabrahma, Paramatma, Brahman begins split into internally into consciousness and externally into existence. This, of course, is the highest level. And before we come into this level, these 2 chapters, that is the 10th and the 11th chapter, sensitizes us to be able to see God in the world and then God as the world. And then finally, through when the seeker becomes soaked in bhakti. That is why all our Tattva Bodha verses give a lot of importance to understanding what is bhakti. Once bhakti is there in our heart, grace opens up. And when grace opens up, we will be able to see that divinity within us and to be able to manifest that divinity in our thoughts, in our words, and in our deeds. We will have a teaching quiz conducted by Dr. Sachin, and Dr. Sachin will help us to go through this understanding once again. Dr. Sachin, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Helping me in this teaching quiz is Mr. Venkatesh Prasad. Sir, the first question, devotion is, the next slide. Devotion is love directed towards higher principle or which we revere and is sacred to us. Love to Matru, Pitru and Guru, or none of the above or all of the above.
It's all of the above, sir.
Yes, sir, correct. We go to the next question. And this is little tricky. How many forms of bhakti exist?
9 forms of bhakti, Navavida bhakti.
Yes, sir, correct. Next question. It's one line answers. God as means for worldly end. What does it mean?
I think it is Manda bhakti.
Right. Then in the same way, God as end goal.
It is a Madhyama bhakti.
And Lord not different than from me.
It is the best one. That is the Uttama bhakti.
Excellent, sir. Correct. So next question. Soham Asmi is, out of all these 4, Uttama, Manda, Madhyama.
It is Uttama bhakti.
Excellent, sir. We go to the next. Again, in a stepwise manner. First stage of bhakti, what do you mean, sir? What does it mean?
This is the Karma Yoga.
Right. Second stage would be?
It is Upasana Yoga.
And obviously the third stage would be?
Jnana Yoga.
Yeah. That is the ultimate which we all want to have. Now coming to the next question. The first meaning of bhakti is love towards God in the form of Manda, Madhyama and Uttama Rupa. Is it true or false?
Absolutely true, sir.
Excellent, sir. Right. We go to the next one. What bhavana is required for doing karma yoga? Is it Īśvara arpana bhavana and prasada buddhi? Every action is dedicated to the Lord, result oriented, or all of the above?
I think the first 2, Īśvara arpana bhavana and prasada bhavana. And naturally, yes, every action is dedicated to the Lord. Both.
Yeah.
This.
It was a tricky question just to make it little difficult. Otherwise, it's same. We go to the next one. In Upasana Yoga, I have to meditate upon the Lord for developing mental discipline and integration. Now, meditation here includes Manasa Puja, Manasa Parayanam, Manasa Japa, or all of the above?
I think it's all the 3, sir. Manasa Puja, Manasa Parayanam, and Manasa Japa. All of the above. Yes,
sir. Correct. In the next question, we see God does not have one form, but all forms are God's forms. Means Anekarupa, Vishwarupa, all of the above, none of the above.
I think it is Vishwarupa Īśvara.
Yes, sir, correct. Now, in the verse 10.6, as we see in the next question, what is the gist of verse 6 here?
Is it
creation? Yes, but creation of external world is the gist of the verse 6.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, it's a creation, but creation of external world. Now, on the same lines, how was it created? In the next question, we'll see. Verse 6 talks about Sapta Maharshaya and Chatvaro. What do they represent here? Sapta Rishis, what they represent here?
Sapta Maharshaya must be Saptarshis. And yes, Chatvaro must be this Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanat Kumara, Sanat Sujata. These 4 means, I think. Also, you're correct. Saptarishis represents the Pravritti Marga, Grahastha Ashrama. And Chatvaro and Sanaka, the 4 rishis represent the Sannyasa Parampara, that is Nivritti Marga. In fact, all this together forms the entire universe. The next question we see. What does Manasa mean in the verse, say 10.6? Sorry, sir. I don't know.
Here, Manasa means not regular creation. It is a Sankalpa Matrena created. Brahmaji created through the Saptarishis and Sankadi 4 rishis by mere visualization. Also, we would see in one of the verses, Om Tat Sat, just the powerful meaning, Om Tat Sat, we have seen in 17th chapter. Through that mantra he created. So that's why Manasa. Next slide, sir. Yeah. What does Manava means in the verse? Answer is already given. Sorry.
Yes.
It is the Manus.
Yeah, definitely it is Manus. Correct.
But the next one, so just, yeah, 14 Manus presides over a specific age era called as?
It is Manvantara.
Excellent. Now, one Manvantara consists of how many Chaturyugas?
It is 71 Chaturyugas.
Absolutely right. Now, Chaturyuga is same as number of years. Is it true or false?
No, it is not true. It is false.
Yeah, it is false. And current Chaturyuga is dash, and in the dash Manvantara. It's a difficult
I
one.
think Vaivasvata Manvantara, and total, I think it is 28th, I think. 28th or 29th.
So we are only in the 28th and more 53 to go. And in the 7th Vaivasvata Manvantara we are. Now one more last year, Brahmaji's 1 working day, 12 hours time, 14 Manus appear and disappear. Is it true or false?
Very much true, sir.
Yes, this you all know. Brahmaji's only 1 working day is 12 hours time, 14 Manus appear and disappears. Means how many years have passed, human years will pass in this. Coming to the 14th question. What is the meaning of Madbhava in the verse? Is it nature of individual being? Yeah.
It is the nature of individual being same as higher nature. That is the meaning of Madhbhava. And it can also be Satchitananda Swarupa. I think
Correct.
both.
It can be either of them because our nature is none other than Satchit Ananda, as the speaker already, Netra, has already told us. We go to the 15th verse. What is the meaning Vibhutim Yogam Cha Mamaha? What does yoga mean here? Is it Lord's potential to evolve as the universe, invisible power of manifestation, Karanam, or all of the above?
I think it is all the above.
Excellent, sir. It is right. And what does Vibhutim mean here, sir? Yogam we have understood. Now, what is Vibhutim means here? Manifestation of potential form, perceptible or visible, Karyam, or all of the above?
And all the three, manifestation, perception, and karyam, as Dr. Netra said.
True, sir. Excellent. Now, coming to the 16th verse, what does Avikampena mean in this verse? 10.7.
Avikampena means not vikampena. That is a conviction.
Excellent, sir. Conviction or unshaken knowledge of the real formless God. True. We'll go to the last verse, second last verse, second last question. Krishna refers to various inner world of thoughts in 10.4. Which one do not belong to this category as mentioned by Lord Krishna? So, Buddhi, Sammoha, Kshama, Dhamma, Sama, Sukham, Dukham.
I think it is Sammoha.
Yes. So delusion does not belong to this category by Lord Krishna. Coming to the last one, 18th question. In the 10.5 verse, so the next slide, sir. Yeah. Bhavanti Bhava Bhutanam means inner condition of living beings. Is this true or false?
It's true.
Yes, it is right. Then Bhava Abhava in the verse means arrival and departure respectively of the thoughts, emotions that arise in the mind. Is it true or false?
That's also true, I think.
Yes, correct, sir, is true. And last one, Ahimsa, Samata, contentment, Tapa, Dhanam, fame, ill fame are all inner word of thoughts.
Yes.
It is true.
Antarbhavaha, inner thoughts. True. It's true.
Yes. So excellent, sir. You have answered all the questions except one. And that ends our quiz today. Thank you very much. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Sachin, for a very enjoyable session, and Dr. Agnes for a very interesting introduction and discussion. Thank you, Meenakshi, for a beautiful shloka time. And thank you, friends, for your active participation. Let us log in for our verse-by-verse session 134 on 10th February 2023 to continue with study of 18th chapter. Please log in at 6:45 p.m. sharp Friday. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you.